Beijing is staging something far bigger than a routine state visit. Just days after hosting US President Donald Trump, with red carpets, military bands, and carefully choreographed diplomacy, China is now rolling out the welcome mat for another global heavyweight, Russian President Vladimir Putin. And together, the timing of these back-to-back summits is sending a message the West cannot ignore. A message that says, the world is changing, and Beijing intends to sit at the center of it. Because this is not merely about two leaders meeting for photo opportunities. This is China and Russia signaling that despite Western sanctions, NATO pressure, trade wars, and geopolitical isolation, their strategic partnership is not breaking. It is deepening. In many ways, Putin's arrival in Beijing is designed to project one powerful image. That attempts by Washington to isolate Moscow have failed. Think about the sequence. First came Trump. The American president arrived seeking trade stability, rare earth access, cooperation over Iran, and calm over Taiwan. Then, almost immediately, comes Putin, a leader under heavy Western sanctions, locked in a grinding Ukraine war, and increasingly dependent on China for economic survival. Two rival power centers of the global system, both converging on Beijing within days of each other. That is not accidental optics. That is geopolitical theater. And Xi Jinping is directing the stage, because while Washington remains stretched across Ukraine, the Middle East, and Indo-Pacific tensions, Beijing is increasingly presenting itself as the capital where all major global conversations still pass through. For China, this is about perception as much as power. A country capable of hosting Trump one week, and Putin the next. A country talking simultaneously to America, Russia, Iran, Gulf powers, and the global South. That is the image China is carefully building. Not just a regional superpower, but the control room of a multipolar world. And for Putin, this visit is absolutely critical. Russia's war in Ukraine has pushed Moscow deeper into Beijing's orbit than ever before. China has become Russia's economic lifeline, buying discounted Russian oil, expanding bilateral trade beyond $200 billion, helping Moscow bypass Western pressure, and increasingly conducting trade in yuan and rubles instead of dollars. That matters. Because beneath the handshakes and state banquets lies a much bigger strategic goal: reducing dependence on the Western financial system. This is why discussions around the Power of Siberia 2 gas pipeline are so important. Russia wants long-term guaranteed energy deals with China. China wants diversified energy security as instability spreads across the Middle East and the Strait of Hormuz. And together, both countries are quietly building economic systems less vulnerable to American sanctions and Western leverage. But energy is only part of the story. Ukraine looms heavily over this visit. Despite publicly calling itself neutral, Beijing has provided Moscow with crucial diplomatic cover throughout the war. China has consistently opposed Western isolation efforts at the United Nations. It has maintained trade ties. And according to Western officials, Chinese dual-use exports have helped sustain parts of Russia's war industry. For Xi Jinping, a weakened Russia is dangerous. Because if Moscow collapses strategically, Beijing loses its strongest geopolitical counterweight against the United States. And there's another silent issue hanging over the talks: Taiwan. Russia fully backs China's One China policy. Moscow openly supports Beijing's claim over Taiwan. And after Trump's noticeably softer tone on Taiwan during his China visit, Beijing likely sees an opportunity to project even greater strategic confidence. Now add the Middle East crisis to the mix. Both China and Russia remain close partners of Iran. Both oppose complete American dominance in the region. And both now see opportunity in acting as alternative diplomatic power brokers, while Washington struggles to contain multiple simultaneous crises. That's why this Putin visit matters far beyond Beijing. Because the real headline may not simply be Putin visits China. The real headline is this: a new global alignment is hardening in plain sight. And China wants the world to understand one thing very clearly. In this emerging multipolar era, all roads increasingly lead through Beijing.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to Mirror Now.